The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Confederation trembled with tension. High Counselor Vaxnor's tentacles quivered as he gripped the ancient podium, his crystalline eyes scanning the vast amphitheater filled with representatives from over 300 species. The chamber's usual golden glow had dimmed to an ominous amber, matching the mood that hung heavy in the recycled air. "Order! Order in the council!" Vaxnor's voice boomed through the neural amplifiers. "As of 0600 Galactic Standard Time, the Human Federation has... His voice cracked, something unprecedented in his 67 cycles of service. "The humans have withdrawn from the Galactic Confederation." The chamber erupted into chaos. The Zentari delegation's bioluminescent patches flashed in rapid distress patterns. The crystalline Pizzolari representatives chimed in harmonic distress. The methane-breathing Hoop's environmental bubbles fogged up with their agitated exhalations. "Impossible!" shouted Trade Minister Klax, his scaled skin flushing bright orange. "They cannot simply leave. The economic implications alone would—" "They already have," Security Chief Bexital cut in, her four arms simultaneously operating different holographic displays. "Their embassy has been completely evacuated. Every single human diplomatic vessel has jumped out of Confederate space. We are tracking mass movements across all their territories." Junior Counselor Naira, the youngest member of the High Council, raised her crystalline appendage. "But what about the trade agreements? The technology sharing protocols? The joint defense initiatives?" Vaxnor's tentacles drooped further. "All suspended. Every single one." The chamber's automated environmental systems struggled to compensate for the collective heat signatures of the panicking delegates. The Mist Collective's representative was literally evaporating from stress. "Show them," Vaxnor commanded, his voice heavy with dread. "Show them the last transmission." A massive hologram materialized in the center of the chamber. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez's face appeared, wearing that enigmatic human expression they called a smile. The same expression that had confused and unsettled the Council for decades. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Confederation," her recorded message began, each word measured and precise. "For 50 years we have attempted to warn you. For 50 years you have dismissed us as, what was it last session? Ah yes, paranoid primitive bipeds with delusions of grandeur." Her smile widened, showing teeth, a gesture that sent shivers through several predator-sensitive species. "You mocked our military preparations as excessive. You called our economic policies restrictive. You labeled our technological development path inefficient." She paused, and that smile turned into something else, something that made even the warrior-bred Krothy shift uncomfortably in their reinforced seats. "We tried to tell you about the Nexus strain. We showed you the data. We presented the evidence. And you?" She laughed, the sound echoing through the chamber like crystal breaking. "You created a subcommittee to study the possibility of forming an exploratory commission. Goodbye, Council. You have exactly 15 standard days before it reaches your core worlds. Do try to survive. We will be watching." The hologram vanished, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Vaxnor's tentacles wrapped tightly around the podium, his crystalline eyes now clouded with fear. The human databases. They are gone. Every shared server, every joint research project, every technological blueprint, all wiped clean. They left nothing behind except... "Except what?" Klax demanded, his scales now a sickly yellow. "Except a file containing every single time we dismissed their warnings, every council vote where we overruled their proposals, every diplomatic insult we thought they were too primitive to understand." Vaxnor's voice dropped to a whisper that nonetheless carried through the entire chamber. "And one more thing, a human phrase. We told you so." The silence that followed was broken only by the soft hum of environmental systems and the quiet whimper of a junior aide fainting in the upper galleries. Security Chief Bexital's displays suddenly flashed red. "High Counselor, we are detecting massive energy signatures. The humans, they are activating something in their former territories." "What? What are they activating?" "Unknown, sir, but whatever it is." She paused, all four hands frozen over her displays. "It is bigger than anything we have ever seen." The council chamber's lights flickered, And for the first time in its 10,000-year history, the ancient seat of galactic civilization felt very, very small. 3 days earlier. The council chamber buzzed with its usual bureaucratic drone: trade agreements, territorial disputes, and the eternal squabbling over resource rights, business as usual for the governing body of galactic civilization. High Counselor Vaxinor barely noticed when Ambassador Elena Rodriguez requested the floor. After all, the humans always had some complaint or warning to deliver. The chair recognizes the Human Federation, Vaxinor announced with practiced boredom, his tentacles lazily gesturing toward the human section. Elena Rodriguez stood, her dark blue diplomatic uniform a stark contrast against the ornate golden chamber. The human delegation had always insisted on such simple attire, spurning the elaborate ceremonial garments favored by other species. Another sign of their charming primitiveness, or so the council thought. "Esteemed colleagues," she began, her voice carrying none of its usual diplomatic warmth. 50 years ago, humanity joined this council with hope in our hearts and stars in our eyes. We were the new kids on the block, eager to learn, ready to contribute. She paused, scanning the chamber. Today, that ends. Trade Minister Klax huffed, his scales rippling with amusement. Another dramatic human declaration? Perhaps we should create a subcommittee to study their flair for theatrics. Scattered laughter echoed through the chamber. The Zentari delegation's bioluminescence pulsed in patterns of amusement. Even Junior Counselor Nira, usually sympathetic to human concerns, struggled to maintain her professional composure. Rodriguez didn't smile. When we detected the first signs of the Nexus strain in the Outer Rim, you created a committee. When we brought you proof of its artificial origin, you formed a study group. When we showed you its exponential growth rate, you suggested a peer review process. Now see here, Security Chief Bexatal interrupted, all four arms gesturing in frustration. We have followed all proper procedures. The Galactic Confederation has protocols. The same protocols that have existed unchanged for 10,000 years, Rodriguez cut in. The same protocols that assume every threat can be debated, discussed, and diplomatically resolved. Tell me, Chief Bexatal, how do you negotiate with a quantum virus that rewrites the laws of physics? The chamber grew quiet. Not the respectful silence of attention, but the awkward pause of adults humoring an overly imaginative child. Ambassador Rodriguez, Vaxinor said soothingly, his tentacles moving in what humans called his paternal pattern. The Confederation appreciates humanity's enthusiasm for security matters. But surely you understand that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Rodriguez reached into her pocket and withdrew a small quantum crystal. The motion caused several security drones to snap to attention, their sensors humming. She held it up, letting it catch the chamber's golden light. In this crystal is the complete data set proving everything we've claimed. Full spectrum analysis, temporal predictions, and recommended countermeasures. She placed it gently on her desk. It also contains humanity's formal withdrawal from the Galactic Confederation. The chamber erupted. Klax's scales flashed through 17 shades of shock. The mist collective condensed so rapidly they nearly precipitated. The PSLR representatives chimed in frequencies that shattered 3 ceremonial glasses. You cannot do this, Vaxinor thundered, his tentacles rigid with outrage. The Articles of Confederation clearly state, Article 7, Section 12, Paragraph 9, Rodriguez quoted. Any member species may withdraw from the Confederation if they believe continued membership represents an existential threat to their civilization. Her voice turned sharp. We believe, we are withdrawing, we are leaving. The economic consequences, Klax began. The security implications, Bexatal started. The technological disruption, Nira attempted. Rodriguez raised her hand and somehow, impossibly, they all fell silent. Later, many would wonder how a representative of such a young species had commanded such authority in that moment. For 50 years, we tried to be good galactic citizens. We followed your rules. We respected your traditions. We waited our turn. And for 50 years, you treated us like children playing at civilization. She picked up the crystal again. Did it never occur to you to ask why humanity, in just 3 centuries of spaceflight, advanced so quickly? Why we were so insistent on maintaining independent research and development? Why we never fully integrated our systems with yours? The silence in the chamber grew heavier. Humanity remembers something your species forgot 10,000 years ago. Survival requires adaptation. Change or die. Evolution isn't a theory, it's a warning. She stood, and the entire human delegation rose with her. In perfect synchronization, they turned toward the grand doors. "Ambassador Rodriguez," Vaxanor called out, a note of fear finally creeping into his voice. "Surely we can discuss this further? Perhaps a special emergency session?" Rodriguez paused at the threshold. The entire chamber held its breath, environmental systems straining to maintain equilibrium as 300 species waited for her response. "We built a wall," she said quietly. "What?" Vaxanor's translator glitched on the non sequitur. "While you were debating, discussing, and forming committees, humanity built a wall. The greatest engineering project in human history, hidden in plain sight because you never bothered to look closely at what you considered primitive human technology." She turned back one last time, and now she smiled. "Good luck, Council. You have 15 days until the Nexus strain reaches your core worlds. When it does, you'll understand why we built the wall and why we're hiding behind it." The doors closed behind the human delegation with a soft click that somehow sounded louder than a quantum detonation. In the stunned silence that followed, Junior Counselor Nira's crystalline voice shook as she asked, "What did she mean by 15 days? Security Chief Bexatal's displays suddenly erupted with alerts. "High Counselor, we're detecting massive energy signatures from all human territories. They're what?" Vaxanor demanded. "They're disappearing. Not just their ships or their people. Entire sectors of space where human worlds should be. They're just gone." The quantum crystal on Rodriguez's abandoned desk pulsed once and projected a final message into the air. "We told you time was running out. Now it has. 13 days until impact." Trade Minister Clax burst into the emergency command center, his scales cycling between panic yellow and rage red. The vast chamber, hastily converted from a ceremonial hall, buzzed with frantic activity as analysts from 300 species attempted to contain the growing crisis. "The quantum exchange has collapsed," he announced, causing several nearby aides to drop their data tablets. "Every trading algorithm, every market predictor, every economic stabilization system, they are failing." Security Chief Bexatal didn't look up from her bank of holographic displays, all 4 arms moving in desperate coordination. "The human fleets did not just withdraw. They are gone. Completely gone. No trace in normal space, subspace, or quantum space. Even their quantum wakes have vanished." "Impossible," Vaxanor muttered, his tentacles writhing in agitation. "No civilization has that level of technology. The energy requirements alone would—" "The PX Alari Trade Foundation just declared bankruptcy," Clax interrupted, his scales now stuck on emergency purple. "Their entire financial network crashed when they lost access to their quantum prediction matrices, the ones humanity helped design." Junior Counselor Nira, who had been quietly analyzing data in the corner, suddenly straightened. "Has anyone tried accessing the Human Historical Database, the public archives they shared with us?" A moment of silence fell over the command center. "The archives," Vaxanor whispered. "Quick, bring them up on the main display." The massive screen flickered to life, showing the familiar interface of humanity's gift to the Confederation, a comprehensive database of their history, culture, and technological development. The loading icon spun and spun and spun. "Error, access denied. Authorization protocols not found." "What? But this was public data." Bexatal's lower arms slammed against her console, while her upper arms flew over emergency override controls. "They cannot just revoke access to already shared information." They did not just revoke access. Nira's crystalline form vibrated with revelation. "Look at the code structure. The database. It was quantum linked to servers in human space. Servers that no longer exist in our universe." A junior aide rushed in, tripping over his gravitational stabilizers. "Ministers, the Centauri Express route has gone dark. all navigation beacons, all quantum waypoints, all emergency protocols. Everything humanity helped establish, it is just gone. The Antares trading corridor reports similar failures, another aide called out, and the Orion bypass, and the Carina superhighway. Clax's scales turned ash gray. Those routes handle 60% of all galactic commerce. Without them, the entire galactic economy will grind to a halt within days, Vaxinor finished, his tentacles drooping in despair. The command center's main display suddenly flickered, showing a cascade of system failures spreading across the galaxy like a virus. Or perhaps, Vaxinor thought with growing horror, exactly like a virus. High Counselor. Bexatal's voice cracked with panic. We are detecting quantum irregularities at the edge of Confederate space. The patterns. They match the theoretical models humanity showed us, the ones we dismissed as impossible. Naira's crystalline form pulsed with sudden understanding. The wall. Ambassador Rodriguez mentioned a wall. What if humanity did not just leave? What if they quarantined themselves? Quarantine, Clax scoffed, but his scales betrayed his fear. From what? The answer came from an unexpected source. A maintenance bot, one of the countless machines that kept the Confederation's central systems running, suddenly projected a message into the center of the room. The bot's manufacturing stamp clearly showed its human origin, something no one had paid attention to before. Warning, quantum corruption detected. Nexus strain containment protocols activating. Human space quarantine complete. Confederate space compromised. Time to impact, 12 days, 7 hours, 13 minutes. Good luck. The bot fell silent and shut down completely, its quantum core going dark. Get it working again, Vaxinor ordered. We need more information. Sir, one of the technical analysts called out, her voice shaking. We are detecting similar shutdowns across all human manufactured technology. They are not failing. They are deliberately shutting down. Realization dawned across the command center like a cold wave. For 50 years, humanity had sold them technology. Simple technology, or so they thought. Reliable technology that worked so well, it had become part of the Confederation's basic infrastructure. Technology that was now revealing itself to be far more sophisticated and far more integrated than anyone had imagined. How? Clax demanded. How did we not see this coming? Nira's answer was soft, but carried across the suddenly quiet command center. Because we saw what we expected to see, a young, primitive species eager to learn from their betters. We never asked why their simple technology worked so well. We never questioned why they insisted on maintaining their own production facilities. We never wondered why they kept certain technological principles to themselves. Get me the Hall of Records, Vaxinor commanded. We need to review everything. Every interaction, every trade deal, every technological exchange with humanity. There must be something we can use. The communications officer's reply froze everyone in their tracks. Sir, the Hall of Records is not responding. It's quantum cores. They were manufactured by humanity. In the terrible silence that followed, they could almost hear Ambassador Rodriguez's words echoing, "We built a wall." And now they were on the wrong side of it. 10 days until impact. The Galactic Technology Review Board's central chamber had never seen such chaos. Representatives from the Confederation's largest corporations crowded the space, their various environmental suits and biological accommodation systems creating a cacophony of sounds and smells. Our entire production line is dead, the CEO of Pixelari Quantum Solutions wailed, her crystalline form fracturing at the edges from stress. Every single factory, nothing works without the human-made quantum stabilizers. Stabilizers. Trade Minister Clax's scales shifted to confusion blue. Those were just simple power regulators. Basic technology. Security Chief Bexatal laughed bitterly, all forearms wrapped around herself in what she had learned was a very human gesture of self-comfort. Were they? Were they really? She gestured to the central display, where a holographic representation of a human quantum stabilizer rotated slowly. Lines of code scrolled past, revealing layer upon layer of complexity hidden beneath a deceptively simple exterior. Look at this, she commanded. Really look at it. The quantum stabilizer does not just regulate power. It creates a localized quantum field that makes our more advanced technology possible. Without even realizing it, we became dependent on human technology to make our own technology work. The revelation hit the chamber like a gravitational wave. High Counselor Vaxinor's tentacles twisted into knots as the implications became clear. "The humans," he whispered. "They gave us the foundation stones of a quantum cathedral, and we were so busy admiring our own spires that we never looked down to see what we were building on." A commotion at the chamber entrance drew everyone's attention. A representative of the Hoop Collective stumbled in, their environmental bubble fluctuating wildly. "The rim worlds are in chaos," they announced, methane swirling agitatedly in their bubble. "The smaller species, the ones who bought human technology in bulk because it was cheap and reliable, their entire civilizations are shutting down." Junior Counselor Naira, who had been quietly analyzing data streams, suddenly straightened. "Has anyone tried to actually open a quantum stabilizer? To see how it works?" The chamber fell silent. "Of course not," she continued, her crystalline form pulsing with revelation. "Because they never broke down, never needed maintenance, never failed until now." She turned to the assembly. "What else did humanity give us that we never really looked at? What other miracles did we dismiss as primitive technology?" The answer came from an unexpected source. The chamber's environmental control system, a system that seamlessly accommodated hundreds of different species with wildly different biological needs, suddenly displayed its manufacturer's logo. A logo no one had paid attention to for decades. "Human Environmental Solutions," Clax read aloud, his scales paling to shock white. "They built the environmental systems for nearly every major facility in Confederate space." "Not just environmental systems," Bexatal added, her displays showing a rapidly growing list. "Power distribution, waste management, food production, quantum communication relays. Simple, reliable systems that we all use because they just worked." The CEO of Peak Solari Quantum Solutions suddenly shattered, her crystalline form breaking into 1,000 pieces before reforming in the panic configuration. "The quantum patents. When we licensed human technology, they insisted on maintaining certain base patents we never reviewed because the technology seemed so basic." "And now?" Vaxinor asked, dreading the answer. "Now we are discovering that our most advanced technology requires those basic patents to function. Without them—" The chamber's lights flickered, as if emphasizing the point. A junior technician burst in, his anti-grav support sparking erratically. "Ministers! We found something in the base code of every human-made device, some kind of countdown program." "What countdown?" Bexatal demanded. The technician projected the code into the air, complex quantum mathematics that had been running unnoticed for decades. "It looks like—" The technician swallowed hard. "It looks like they have been preparing for something. Every device, every system, every piece of technology they sold us. They all contain quantum protocols designed to activate in response to specific conditions." "What conditions?" Nira asked, though they all suspected the answer. "The approach of the Nexus strain." The technician's voice shook. They knew it was coming. They spent 50 years preparing for it, and now their systems are executing their final protocols, Vaxinor finished. Shutting down, withdrawing, just like humanity itself. The chamber's environmental systems chose that moment to display another message. "Warning: quantum barrier integrity at 100%. Human space successfully isolated. Confederate space quarantine status failed. Time to impact 9 days, 18 hours, 42 minutes. In the silence that followed, they all remembered Ambassador Rodriguez's words about building a wall. They had assumed it was metaphorical. They had assumed so many things. They had assumed themselves to be the teachers, the advanced civilization graciously guiding a young species. They had assumed wrong. 5 days until impact. The Council's Emergency Command Center had transformed into a graveyard of dead screens and failed systems. Only the backup power grid, ironically one of the few systems not designed by humans, kept the lights on. The air felt stale. The environmental systems were operating at minimum capacity. "Try it again," Vaxinor ordered, his tentacles lackluster and drooping. There must be some way to contact them. Security Chief Bexatal shook her head, all four arms hanging limp with exhaustion. Every quantum channel is dead. Every subspace frequency is silent. Even the primitive radio bands they insisted on maintaining. Nothing. The Zentari just declared martial law, Trade Minister Clax announced, his scales a mottled pattern of fear and desperation. Their entire banking system collapsed when the human quantum cores went dark. Riots in the streets, the Pixelari are not far behind. Junior Counselor Nira, who had spent days analyzing the failing systems, suddenly jolted upright. Something is happening. The quantum noise. It is changing. Every working screen in the command center flickered to life simultaneously. The image was crisp, perfect. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, seated at what appeared to be a simple wooden desk. Behind her, through a window, they could see Earth, but not the Earth they knew. This Earth was surrounded by structures that dwarfed anything the Confederation had ever built. "Hello, Council," she said, that familiar smile playing across her face. "By now, you have probably realized a few things. Let me help you realize a few more." The view behind her zoomed out, revealing the true scale of human advancement. Orbital rings encircled the Earth. Vast structures that seemed to bend space itself stretched into the distance. And surrounding it all, barely visible but undeniably present, was what could only be the wall they had mentioned. "Humanity never needed your technology," Rodriguez continued. "We did not join the Confederation to learn. We joined to teach, but you were not ready to learn." Vaxnor's tentacles curled in denial. "But your technology, it was so simple." "Simple," Rodriguez laughed. "We showed you quantum computing disguised as power regulators. We gave you space-time manipulation technology hidden in environmental systems. We handed you the keys to transcending your understanding of physics, wrapped in packages so basic you never bothered to look inside them." The image shifted, showing vast fleets of human ships, unlike anything they had revealed before. Ships that seemed to bend the light around them in ways that hurt to look at. "Your civilization has been stagnant for 10,000 years, Rodriguez continued. "You stopped pushing boundaries, stopped taking risks, stopped evolving. You thought you had reached the peak of possible advancement. You were wrong." "The Nexus strain," Nira whispered. "You knew about it all along? We did not just know about it, we created it." Rodriguez held up a hand as the entire command center erupted in shock. "Not this version, but something similar, on Earth centuries ago. It nearly wiped us out, but we survived, we adapted, we evolved." The view shifted again, showing the wall, but now they could see it clearly. A barrier of pure quantum energy, encompassing all of human space. "When we detected the signs of an engineered quantum virus in the outer rim, we recognized it. We knew what it would do. We tried to warn you. For 50 years, we tried to prepare you. We offered you the tools to fight it, disguised as simple technology because that was the only way you would accept it." Clax's scales turned revelation gold. The quantum stabilizers, they were not just power regulators. They were virus quarantine nodes, Rodriguez finished. Building blocks for your own wall. If you had studied them, understood them, you could have protected yourselves. Instead, you dismissed them as primitive technology. The command center fell silent as the full weight of their failure crashed down upon them. "The wall we built will protect humanity," Rodriguez continued. "We offered you the same protection. You chose not to take it. But," she smiled again, "we are not completely heartless." Every remaining human-made device in Confederate space suddenly activated, displaying new code, new protocols, new possibilities. "We left you a chance, one chance. In every device, every system, every piece of technology we sold you, we hid the keys to your survival. You have 5 days to figure out how to use them. 5 days to overcome 10,000 years of intellectual stagnation. 5 days to prove that you can adapt, evolve, and survive." Nira's crystalline form pulsed with sudden hope as she examined the new data streaming across her screens. "This code, these principles, they are beyond anything we thought possible." "Consider it humanity's final gift to the Confederation," Rodriguez said. Everything we know about quantum mechanics, viral evolution, and universal constants. All the knowledge we tried to share before, now laid bare. Her expression turned serious. You have 5 days. If you survive, if you learn, if you evolve, maybe we will meet again, as equals this time. The screens went dark, but the data remained. One day until impact. The Galactic Confederation, an empire spanning thousands of light years, had effectively collapsed in just 2 weeks. The Grand Council Chamber, once a symbol of unity and power, now served as a desperate last refuge. Emergency power cells cast harsh shadows across faces and forms of the remaining representatives. The outer rim has gone dark, Security Chief Bexatal reported, only her upper right arm still working her remaining functional display. The Zentari Collective has completely withdrawn to their home systems, the Pixelari. They are not responding to any communications. Trade Minister Clax, his scales now permanently locked in distress gray, slumped in his chair. 90% of our quantum networks have failed. The remaining 10% will not last another day. We are looking at a complete technological dark age. High Counselor Vaxinor's tentacles hung limp as he surveyed the chamber. Of the 300 species that once filled these seats, barely 50 remained. The others had fled, desperately trying to salvage what they could of their civilizations. Only Junior Counselor Nira seemed animated, her crystalline form pulsing with intense light as she worked through the human data. Look at this. They're quantum mechanics. They do not just manipulate space-time, they treat it like a programming language. What good does that do us now? Clax demanded. We have less than 24 hours until the Nexus strain reaches the core worlds, and we still cannot even understand half of what they gave us. Naira's form flashed with excitement. But that is just it. We are not supposed to understand it all. Look at how they structured the data. These are not just scientific principles. This is a teaching program. The remaining council members turned to her. Think about it, she continued, her crystalline surfaces refracting light in complex patterns. Humanity spent 50 years hiding advanced technology in simple packages. They are masters of teaching complex concepts through practical application. This data dump, it is the same principle. Vaxinor's tentacles twitched with the first sign of hope in days. Explain. Nira projected her findings into the chamber's center. They gave us working examples, not just theory. Basic applications we can implement immediately, with hooks for more advanced concepts once we understand the fundamentals. We do not need to understand everything right now. We just need to. A massive tremor shook the chamber. Emergency alarms, already screaming for days, somehow found a new pitch of panic. The strain, Bexatal shouted. It is accelerating. New estimate for impact, 3 hours. Vaxnor raised himself to his full height, tentacles finally showing strength again. Naira, what can we do in 3 hours? We cannot stop it, she admitted, but maybe we can survive it. If we take what we understand of the human quantum protocols and apply it to our remaining systems. Do it, Vaxnor commanded. Send the instructions to every surviving world, every space station, every ship. Give them what they need to adapt. The next 3 hours passed in a blur of desperate activity. Nira's simplified versions of human quantum protocols spread across Confederate space. Some systems failed. Others worked in strange new ways. A few transformed into something entirely unexpected. When the Nexus strain hit, it hit hard. But it did not hit a stagnant, unprepared civilization. It hit a civilization in the midst of desperate, radical change. The results were interesting. 1 week after impact, High Counselor Vaxinor stood before the drastically altered council chamber. The grand golden walls had been replaced by quantum-reinforced barriers that shifted and flowed like living things. The representatives who remained had changed too, some subtly, others dramatically, as their civilizations adapted to survive. We lost 30% of Confederate space to the strain, he reported, his tentacles now capable of expressing emotions in quantum states. Another 40% is changed beyond recognition. The remaining 30% evolved, Nira finished. Her crystalline form now existed partially in quantum space, allowing her to process information in ways that would have been impossible 2 weeks ago. A new hologram appeared in the chamber's center. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, still seated at that simple wooden desk. "Congratulations," she said, smiling. "You survived. More than that, you adapted. You evolved, just as we hoped you would." "You took an impossible risk," Vaxanor said. "We could have all perished." "Yes," Rodriguez agreed. "But you did not. You proved that you could overcome 10,000 years of stagnation. You proved that you could face extinction and choose to change instead of die. You proved that you were ready." "Ready for what?" Trade Minister Clax asked, his scales now capable of displaying quantum probability states. "Ready to meet humanity as equals. Ready to face the true challenges that exist in this universe. Ready to evolve." The view behind her shifted, showing vistas of space that hurt to look at, geometries that should not exist, possibilities that beg to be explored. "The wall is coming down," she announced. "Humanity would like to rejoin the Confederation, not as teachers this time, not as students, but as partners." She stood, and behind her they could see the wall beginning to dissolve. "The universe is larger, stranger, and more dangerous than you ever imagined. But it is also more wonderful than you ever dreamed. Shall we explore it together?" The new council, changed but unbroken, survivors of apocalypse and transformation, looked at each other. In their changed forms, their evolved states, their quantum-enhanced minds, they found a unanimous answer. "Yes," Vaxanor said, "we are ready." And somewhere in dimensions beyond normal space-time, the Nexus strain itself might have smiled, its purpose as a catalyst for change finally fulfilled.